Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
And I'm going to call the Select Board meeting to order on April 2nd, 2020. And as last week, we are using Zoom for this meeting, and each of us is in a different location. There's Cheryl Mayberry is with us, Steve DeLassio, and I'm Peggy Pashir. Sarah Downing is on tonight as well. And Regina Borden, who is taking our minutes, is with us by telephone. There are a couple of things I want to say before we get into the agenda, which you probably, if you're watching us, you can already see on the screen. All of us yesterday received a new emergency order, number 23, from the governor of New Hampshire. And it allows us to do a number of things in order to accommodate the fact that we need to be flexible during this time of the virus. For one thing, we can indeed use electronic signatures, which I think you noticed we were doing last week. Fortunately, we are legal in doing so for all documents. Last week, we didn't use the electronic signature on some things that needed to be filed with the state. But in fact, now we can use them for all documents that can be filed with the state of New Hampshire as well. In addition, we are relieved from some of the regular statutory local meetings that we need to have. For instance, the planning board is excused from having its regular 1 month meeting every month. That doesn't mean that they won't go back into session as soon as this is relieved, but some of the requirements for the planning board are also relieved, some of the deadlines that they need to meet. You can find this emergency order number 23 online if you go to nh.gov and press the button that talks about all the updates on this coronavirus. And if you go and look at emergency orders, you'll find that this is a very important one for us all to use because it gives us as a municipality guidance on what we are to do. One of the very fortunate things that we've already done that a great many towns have not done is we've had an annual meeting. And that, as all of us can attest, because we've been listening regularly to conference calls from the state on legal issues. And fortunately, we had our meeting on March 14th, and we are good to go on everything, while a great many towns are having considerable problems as a result of this virus and all of the orders telling us to stay in place. So with that, we will again take votes tonight by voice vote, which we are required to do. And Sarah says that we've had no emails or comments from anybody of things that they'd like to have on the agenda. So we'll start with the agenda. Steve?
I make a motion to accept the accounts payable check register in the total amount of $274,088.67 for checks issued 4/3/2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Carol, are there any questions or comments about these accounts payable? If not, then I'd like to call the roll call vote. Steve?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Peggy is an aye, so the ayes have it, and the accounts payable check register is approved. All
I
right.
make a motion to accept the payroll register totaling $41,272.96 for checks dated 4/3/2020 and the 9/41 payroll tax transfer of $9,773.04. This payroll includes wages due once COLA and wage adjustments were applied as approved at town meeting.
Thank you for adding that. Is there a second?
Second.
Cheryl, are there any
Yeah.
questions? Yes. You have a question about it?
No.
Okay. No comments? Then let's have a voice vote. Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Peggy, aye. The ayes have it, and that the accounts payable are approved.
I make a motion to accept the Select Board Emergency Meeting Minutes of March 17th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Cheryl, are there any comments about that or questions? Anything you want to say about that particular meeting? As I recall, it's with Mark Houghton and our health officer. No questions or comments?
No, I think I think our health officer, Dr. Shaw, explained the situation really well early on. I think he gave us a really good perspective on things about not overtaxing the healthcare system. And I really thought that was a very informative meeting.
Good, thank you. Let's have a roll call vote. Steve,
Aye.
I'm gonna change this around next time. Cheryl?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well. So the ayes have it. The meeting minutes from March 17th are approved.
I make a motion to accept the Select Board Minutes of March 19th, 2020.
Second.
Thank you, Cheryl. Are there any questions or comments about it? This is one that we held over from last week. If there are no questions, then I'm going to call roll vote. Cheryl?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I vote yes as well. Consequently, the March 19th Select Board minutes are approved.
I
Next,
make a motion to accept the non-public Select Board Session Minutes of March 19th, 2020, and these should remain sealed.
Second.
thank you for the second. Are there any questions or comments about them? If not, Steve?
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Peggy? I vote yes as well. They are approved. That's the non-public Select Board session, which is going to be remain sealed, dated March 19th, 2020. The next item?
I make a motion to accept the Select Board Minutes of March 26th, 2020.
Second.
Cheryl, are there any comments about that particular meeting? This was the first meeting that we had on Zoom. It was a learning experience.
It was.
All right. Steve, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. You're first.
Aye.
Cheryl?
Aye.
I vote yes, so the ayes have it, and the Select Board minutes for March 26th, 2020 are approved. And
I make a motion to accept the non-public Select Board Session Minutes of March 26th, 2020, and these should remain sealed.
Second.
are there any questions about this particular set of minutes? If not, then we'll have a vote. Steve?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
I vote yes. So the ayes have it, and the non-public Select Board session of March 26th is approved and will remain sealed. Okay, how about these committee reports?
I acknowledge the Zoning Board of Adjustment minutes of March 18th, 2020 as being received.
Second, or, well, I guess we don't have to move, just to acknowledge. Yeah, I agree.
Good. That
Or
was,
acknowledge.
yes, that was the meeting that we actually sort of accepted before we all went into sort of quarantine, so to speak, because in fact it had already been scheduled and warned. Let's go to old business then, and the joint meeting request from Bellows Falls trustees and the Rockingham Select Board. Sarah, would you like to talk about that? Because you've had the communication with that group through emails recently this week.
Yes, I wanted to follow up with Rockingham and JD Mack of Southwestern Regional Planning Commission. This topic's been on our agenda for several weeks, and I wanted to see where we were. And, at this point, both Rockingham and Bellows Falls Village and Walpole have not heard from either the governor of Vermont or New Hampshire any feedback. It's rather understandable with the COVID-19 situation there. Attention is other places. But I thought that Wendy Harrison had a good suggestion. She said that, I'm going to read this from her email, if either state is thinking about economic development through expanded public projects, this would be a great project. perhaps we would bring that up in a few weeks when the COVID economic responses are being formulated. And then JB Mack responded, it's probably worth trying. So that's where we are with that.
Okay, thank you.
And
very
my
much.
question is, should I keep it on the agenda? Or should I maybe put a reminder in tickler in my calendar to come back to this like in a month or two?
That's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
I agree. I agree.
How about Steve? Do you think that's?
Yeah, yeah, again, just to remind everybody that the Vilas Bridge is a state-owned bridge.
Yes, yes, indeed. New Hampshire state owned.
Yes.
Okay, and the updated town closure notice, can you throw that up on the screen by any chance? Sarah?
Yes, I can. Let me scroll down. I have this, bear with me. Here we are. Takes a minute to load.
All right. What we're talking about is something that we issued a couple of weeks ago, actually, before we had our meeting last week, as a matter of fact, and announced that the town offices were closed to the public due to this COVID-19 virus. And it stated the requirements of people who needed to use town hall. And it indicated that all committee meetings were going to be suspended until further notice, and that we would not be talking about a lot of public business at these meetings. As you can see by our agendas, what we're doing really is doing the things that are necessary to keep the town running. We have been declared, all of our employees are essential, so they're all working, except, well, even the library, which is not open, is working. The librarians are working at home for projects. So is that up yet? It isn't on my, you have that up, Sarah?
Is it not showing? Hold on.
My computer.
Hold on a minute. I thought it loaded, but it didn't. Bear with me. I'm gonna stop share. Hold on, I'm gonna try sharing it again. Share screen. Is it displaying?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
It's up.
Oh.
Thank you. Then it allows everybody to see this. I don't know if you can scroll down a bit. Are there changes that have been made since the new requirements have been issued?
I suggested to Sarah, Peggy, that the just put, and will continue to be closed until further notice.
And that's in that first paragraph.
Wherever we had a date
Great.
there, rather than having to reissue it every time the date keeps sliding.
I think that's perfectly appropriate and right that we should be doing that. Although the date at this point is May 6th. Frankly, after all that I'm hearing, I fully expect that to be later. I'll be surprised if that date sticks in this state, since they're still predicting the worst to come. So I think it'll be June before we're back.
Right.
If I'm wrong, I'll be delighted to be told.
The other item that
Right.
Anything else?
we also added town parks and recreation areas are closed to the public until further notice.
Great, thank you. Any other comments about it or questions?
No.
I think we get it posted and see that it goes up on the Walpolean, if please, so that Lil can send it out. And of course, I would put it in the, well, at this point, let's wait. We may want to put it even in the Clarion for next month.
Yeah, and I'll print it out and post it here in Drewsville.
Great, that's a good idea. Can we see that it gets sent to North Walpole as well, please? And I would send a copy to the police department so that they also post it on the outside of their building, since the lobby is closed there. All right. How about the next agenda item? Now, I'm not looking at the agenda, so what's next?
Let me get to the,
Quarantine of first responders, Peg?
Yes, yes, that's been a concern of the police department, and I've had several discussions with them, and then subsequently with Mark Houghton. Mark tells me that there are, at this point, 2 state quarantine centers. I think the closest is maybe Claremont. There's one on the other side of the state. But as Mark and I have discussed this, he has some suggestions and plans that that he might carry forward if in fact we get into a position where our first responders or our police department needs to be quarantined for any reason. He has suggested that we in fact at the police department use one of the camp trailers or both camp trailers if necessary that the police own personally, that they park in their parking lot. If they have to use that, be quarantined. But Mark, as our emergency management director, is staying on top of this and will have suggestions and solutions should it become necessary.
I'll also mention, Peggy, that there's a place in might be Charlestown, that also is renting campers.
Oh, is there? Okay.
If need be, I guess we could always contact them about the possibility of renting one.
I misspoke. I said Claremont, but I think that's what he told me. But Charlestown may have been it. Maybe that's what he was thinking of. But he also specifically mentioned the fact that he knows that there are 2 private campers owned by the department that we could use.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the next item? Because we're not looking at that. We can put it back up if you'd like.
The agenda, Sarah?
okay. Yep, go in there. Is it showing?
Yes,
Maybe
number-
yes, it's showing.
Items.
yes.
It's showing, and we have a number of pending items, and we're still going to have to wait. And I think on the lights issue around the Arch Bridge and town deeded properties, I assume you're still working on that, Sarah?
Yes.
I have not been able to find anything that deals with extension of dog licensing deadlines. I've read all those RSAs, but it occurs to me that when there is that telephone conversation next Tuesday at noon with the state's emergency management officer and all of the attorneys there, I'm going to ask. They haven't extended that deadline. They've extended a number of deadlines. Maybe it'll even get a chuckle that I'm thinking about it. It's an issue that has come up, and that begins in April. And at this point, I'm not sure we'll have a lot of people making appointments to relicense their dogs. So I'll raise that issue next Tuesday. Okay? And the North Walpole school flashing sign, I have been talking to Justin Sanctuary, Lieutenant Justin Sanctuary, and also with road agent Mike Rao. Mike and I are going to talk again. Justin's comment is there are already some lights up there in front of the school. So both he and Mike are asking what's different about this request when the North Walpole school already has some red lights in front of the school. So I'll follow up on that some more.
Well, I can also reach out to Celeste Almond. She's the commissioner that brought this up. I can also ask her for more information.
I think that's great. Thank you, Cheryl. That's a good idea because it'll help me in my discussions with both Mike and Justin, who want to know more details of what it is exactly that's needed when they're all, from their perspective, there are already some red warning lights up there. Highway paving list, equipment list. Does anybody have that at this point?
I haven't done anything. Cheryl, are you ready to pick up on that with the road department or?
Yeah, I can pick up that request, yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And I'm supposed to be working, I guess, on this next one, and I, as of yet, haven't done anything on it. But I will. So let's go on to new business. Steve, I think you're going to speak to the building permit for the Walpole Creamery.
Right. As we know, the governor's orders, executive orders 23, gave the planning board a lot of new latitude. They have, at the last meeting, they presented a concept for improving the Walpole Creamery building.
Yes.
They're taking over the where the laundromat was, to expand their production facility, and would like to put a porch down the length of the building with sort of a walkway or a boardwalk down the front of the building with tables to allow people to sit more from the parlor area. They felt it was a hardship to delay them a month or maybe more from the planning board, and asked if they could do it, if the planning board would consider a approval of a site plan contingent on them reviewing it in May or June, depending on when the planning board resumes. The plans were all done by a professional engineer. So they've agreed, the planning board has agreed to approve, or will approve it. They're doing it by email now, approving those plans, contingent on them following up with a full site plan review later on. The building permit, I'm comfortable with issuing a building permit to them, providing the plans are all signed off by a professional engineer.
Aren't they also expanding their production area into the space,
Into the laundromat.
the laundromat? So that's yes, a bit of a change of use in some respects,
Yeah, it's still commercial going to commercial, so.
commercial to commercial. And if the planning board and the engineers are all signing off on this, I agree with you. I don't see any
Yeah.
reason to hold up the building permit.
They also need a driveway permit from DOT as well.
Okay,
Because they're gonna, if you think about what the parlor looked like, there was parking over to the left that was sort of haphazard. That's gonna go away now, and there'll be additional parking spaces added to the parking lot.
They're not going to need another curb cut, are they?
No, I think they're just gonna reconfigure what's there.
Okay.
So
So-
I just wanted to, if they come with a building permit, I think we should just approve it. Again, we can always make it contingent upon getting the site plan review eventually,
So,
but I'm sure they will.
but if they present a building permit by next Thursday, we can have it on the agenda.
Right, exactly.
Okay, fine. Cheryl, you have any comment or thought about that?
I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm just trying to envision how the parking is going to work. So have you seen any plans, Steve?
Yeah, there's, Mary Lou has sent out some plans, and I'll send them over to everybody
Okay, that would be good.
so you can see it. Basically, along the Route 12 in the front there was no parking. Now that's
Yeah.
where they're gonna put parking along that stretch there,
I mean, on
So
the,
they're, yeah, facing the road or?
facing Route 12, right? There'll
Oh,
be angular
okay.
parking along there. They wanted to
Because
get rid of, go ahead.
Isn't there that, isn't there a sign or a little lawn or
Yeah,
isn't there,
there's a little something there, yeah.
sort of an
is
island.
that gonna stay?
The island is gonna stay.
Oh,
I think-
okay,
I'll send over the drawings to you.
Okay.
It looks reasonable what they want to do. In the long range, in the long term, they have some of those cooler trailers in the back of
yeah,
the building and on the side. In the long term, they're gonna get rid of those as well. So that
okay.
side will get pretty much cleaned up even further.
Because I think as you're looking at the building, when the creamery was open, people naturally parked along the left side as you're facing
That's
the
correct.
building.
And that's what they're trying to get rid of.
Okay, and more, is it gonna be able to fit more cars? I'm
Yes,
having, okay,
by having them more organized, it winds up with more cars. And there'll be some shrubbery along the front of the building that kind of shields the boardwalk from the cars as well.
oh, okay, yeah,
But we'll send some stuff through so you can see it.
Okay, good, thank you.
There's obviously at least 5 days, sometimes 6 days, the tire company is open and they need to continue to have parking as well. So I assume
Right.
interfere with that.
Yep.
Well, I think when they're open, the part of their frontage had some picnic tables or tables where people would sit. So you could
Yeah.
park facing those, but that only fit like
You.
2, possibly 3 before you could walk into the entrance.
Yeah.
And since they're expanding to the laundry area, that fits at least 4 cars. I think it's about 4 cars before you start hitting the Walpole tire frontage.
Right. And
So
then
definitely,
it's
yeah,
definitely going to be an improvement from what's over there now.
yeah.
Good. All right. And then anything else on that? We'll wait then to see if we get a building permit for the creamery for next Thursday.
Mhm.
The next item under new business is the use of Zoom, which we're using right now. Steve?
Yeah, I've gotten a couple calls from different people that are on different committees and about using Zoom, but the free version has its limitations as well as a 40-minute limit on meetings. So the question comes in is, can other groups use this license, or should we get another license that's generic so that these other groups can use the Zoom license? If
Well,
not,
I would,
yeah, Sarah.
I would recommend, from experience I had with the different groups sharing a license, it can be tricky. It happened to me with another group where we both remained signed in, and then we ended up blocking everyone from attending the meeting and had to redo the whole meeting as far as the invitation. So it's not made to share very well.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up because, what'll wind up happening is if the planning board wants to move to something like this, they're gonna buy a license, then the zoning board might buy a license, and then Hooper wants to buy a license. So we might wind up with, all of our groups spending the $15 a month.
Well,
It'd be $14.95.
Okay, $14.95.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, but
so
when you buy it monthly, and then when you didn't need it, you could cancel your subscription.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
well, I'm thinking that we shouldn't be buying one for everyone. They don't have enough meetings to really justify that. So why couldn't we just have a set of rules as far as logging in and out? If they want to be able to use it, this is how they have to go about it. And then have the next group just do a test run to make sure that they can log in prior to their meeting start. Because they're kind of spread out enough where I think it would cut down on that conflict of being logged in or not logged in.
At this point, the planning board is excused by Order 23 of having to meet, and all their deadlines are also delayed until they can start meeting together again. I don't think we need to have a Zoom license for every committee. I think that's an expenditure that we may not want to afford, because that's an issue I want to bring up, talking about budget a little bit in a minute. But I think we ought to somehow see if they really feel they absolutely have to have a Zoom meeting because they cannot get together as a group because they're all too large to meet the requirements of or the limitations of meeting size. And I think we probably will have to accommodate them through the use of our license.
Yeah, I know Hooper met last night by conference call
That's
with
an
freeconferencecall.com, and it was terrible.
Was it really?
Yeah, so they agreed to go over to Zoom for next month, but again, it gets down to, the free version only lasts 40 minutes and then you're done. And it doesn't give you a warning, it just shuts everybody off.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the Hooper meetings definitely last more than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And so do every one of the other boards. They all,
And again, I would like to start the police study committee, at least in principle, soon too. So,
What's the harm in getting at least a second license?
depends on who's going to be in charge of it and how it's managed. I think that's probably the biggest item to discuss.
why
Can-
couldn't we just do it the same way we reserve town hall? The committee chair calls in to the town office and reserves a time slot.
Would it be helpful if we had 2 licenses?
Including our own or besides our own?
No, including our own.
I think we should. I think we should have a second license.
For the committee, for general use by our boards and committees.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with Steve.
Okay, Sarah's nodding yes. We'll have to think about how that gets managed then and who is in charge of it, so to speak. The broadband
Well,
meeting that
I just wanted to add, Peggy, for a second. Sarah's been working really hard to get herself really educated on how the Zoom process works. So
correct.
I think she can help us by creating a sort of use document or something. I think that might help.
How do you feel about that, Sarah?
I could do helpful hints that I've learned that you wouldn't see in a YouTube.
Well, perhaps you can perhaps train someone else on how to use Zoom. When the broadband committee met, we used somebody else's Zoom. We used one from one of the members of the committee itself who has a company Zoom that he allowed us to use. So we didn't try to use anything with the town. And we'll probably continue to do that as we meet, is to use one from another company that belongs to the committee members. So anything else on that? Well, we'll bring it up again because we'll need to finish and make sure that in fact we've got it organized and working with some procedures to apply to it. Any other new business that needs to come up tonight? Nope.
No,
Could we then have a motion to go into non-public business?
Motion to go into non-public?
second.
Thank you.